Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. So I am gonna review my February books for the month. This month I was trying to read books by or about people of color and romance. So I burned through a lot of my Colleen Hoover that I had been saving because I wanted to read them for my little romance month. I also went on a 1-week mission trip to Honduras during the month, so I didn't bring physical books with me, so I feel like I read some books I would not normally have read. Like, they don't fit the theme just because they were available from the library on like ebook or audiobook. So it was a weird month. So we'll just get started. So the first book that I read was The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. So this is the last in the off-campus series. This series has been hit or miss for me. So the first was 5 stars. Love it so much. I would recommend it to anyone and everyone. Sorry, Mabel's on my lap just like snoring away. This one, I feel like she just wanted to like see the characters again. So it was very, very tropey. Like wedding, baby, honeymoon. And I don't love the like jumping from couple to couple. So I gave this one a 3. It was kind of like, I like the characters. I liked seeing them again, but it's just not my favorite to like go revisit them and have like super predictable things happen. The next book that I read for the Sharon Says So book club. So this is The Revolutionary, Samuel Adams. I liked the content. This was such a painful read. I'm so sorry. Somehow she was able to make The Revolutionary more boring. I really don't have much to say about it. If you like history, this is great. Like, it's interesting to know that Samuel Adams was like had his fingers in everything, but he's just not really like remembered as part of the Revolutionary War. Like he's not like a Paul Revere or John Hancock, but like he like instigated it. Also not a super lovable character because he just like twisted the truth in order to have a revolution. So yeah. There you go. I gave it 2 stars. I think that was generous. I think if I read it on my own, I would have DNF'd it, honestly. Like, it just, that's not my cup of tea. And then totally pivoting, and actually, so I read The Revolutionary Samuel Adams like through the whole month of January as well. Like, I just did like 1 chapter at a time. So I read like all these books in between. So White Horse was book of the month from November of 2022. So I didn't get to this one in January, but I had started it. So this is like horror. So horror mystery. This woman finds a bracelet that belonged to her mother, and as soon as she interacts with the bracelet, she starts having visions. So she's trying to figure out what happened to her mom. The mystery was good. That kept me reading. The setting on the reservation is interesting. I just feel like I don't know much about like Indian reservations, Native American history. And I am always like, that's something very interesting to me. It had a lot of like references to The Shining, and I read that last year, so I got them, but just overall this book was really messy. Like, there was just a lot of like weird violence that wasn't actually like part of the storyline, a lot of like relational things that weren't actually part of the storyline. So I gave this one 3 stars. Like, I wouldn't say don't read it, but it's also kind of one of those that you get done reading it and it's like, okay, there was just a lot of like superfluous stuff. It didn't all tie together at the end. And then to get started on my, so my audiobooks for the month, my iPad doesn't want to wake up. I listened to What Happened to You by Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. So this has been recommended by my sister because she had read it when she had a foster child. My mom has also read it, and it was great. So the audiobook is actually, it's like a conversation that's read between Dr. Perry and Oprah. So I'm sure it's written that way as well, but having them read it is very cool. I do feel like this is a book that you could read multiple times and still not like digest all of it. I did give this one 5 stars. It was easy to listen to, like easy content, but also like shocking. So there's a lot in here about like the first 3 months of your life is where you get a lot of your resilience from. So if your first 3 months of your life is great, you can be very resilient for the rest of your life. And if you had a rough 3 months, then you have to work a lot harder to be resilient. Like things will be a lot more dramatic in your life if you had an unstable first 3 months. Which, I don't know, to me that feels like maybe we should pay for maternity leave. Focus on that 3 months, you know? Seems like a good idea. The next book that I listened to, I must have worked a bunch of days in a row, was Twisted Love by Anna Huang. So this is the first in a series. I wanted to love it. I did not. So I gave this one 3 stars. So it wasn't bad. It was super predictable. There was like a kind of like I liked the man character. And I didn't mind the girl. It was way too predictable. At one point she gets kidnapped and that wasn't even that exciting. Like there just weren't any stakes because you knew it was going to happen. So I don't know that I will read anymore in that series, which is sad because I was really hoping to like get into a good juicy series again. Then I picked up Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. This was a 1-sitting read for me. Loved it. 5 stars, like 5 out of 5. I felt like this could have been very messy because, yeah, so our main character gets out of prison, has a child in prison, and so she's trying to reunite with her daughter. And you don't know what happened the night of the accident. And then she falls in love with her baby daddy's best friend, who they never met before he died. So there's lots of, I don't know, I don't want to give away the plot. It was so good. Like, and I felt like it was weird. Like, this could have easily been like unbelievable and too easy, but it was like really messy and really good. I loved the characters. It was just so good. And this is exactly what I needed. I needed this little palate cleanser because February kind of got off to a rough start. So this just restored my faith in books, really, and romances. And then the next night, picked up Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Again, it took me like a little bit to get into it because I think I had to work, so I couldn't like consistently pick it up. But once I got started, I finished it in 1 sitting. So Love in Other Words is our main characters are like best friends from like summer houses, and as they grow up they fall in love, and then something happens and they have like, so we're following 2 timelines. It's like when they're growing up and then 11 years later when they're reunited, and you don't know why they like had a falling out because they were so in love. So good. And it's like books and words are kind of like the thing that ties them together, which I obviously love. So I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. This one has the flavor of Every Summer After, which was one of my favorite books of last year. So this is just like so good. And it's a little bit thicker, but I didn't feel like any of it needed to be cut. So just, I love this little writing duo. They're so good. And then my next one. So I have read and loved Allie Hazelwood. I had previously read this novella, Below Zero, I believe. It's set in like the Arctic. They're scientists, Arctic. And then, so I like reread parts of that, and I read the other 2 novellas that are bound in this book together. I gave it 5 stars. I love these. The one novella like wasn't my favorite. Like I liked the story, but at the end they came together like so suddenly, and it was just kind of a little bit unbelievable, but I feel like she needed to wrap it up. I love the middle story, and I love the Below Zero. So it was probably more like a 4.75 star, but we're rounding up to 5. I do love Allie Hazelwood. I feel like she loves to tell the same story over and over, but I like it. So yeah, they're feisty characters. They're women in STEM. I feel like I'll probably keep reading her until I'm over it, but I loved them. Can't wait for her book to come out. Then I read Inspired by Rachel Held Evans. So this I read for a book club, but I had also just wanted to read something by Rachel Held Evans because I've heard a lot about her. So this book kind of talks you through like how to keep the Eastern culture storytelling in reading the Bible. I think what's really hard is when we Western thinking Americans try to read the Bible and it like doesn't make sense, and we try to like put our culture on it. So this is a really great way to like kind of read like how the Bible should be read and like where it came from and how those stories are supposed to work. This was not it's not a hard read, but it also is not a page turner. So I didn't really rate it because I just don't know how to rate this. It wasn't really new information for me because I've read similar books, but I did like how she would tell like a little story and then she would kind of explain that type of story. For example, she told like a deliverance story and then she had a chapter about the deliverance stories in the Bible and kind of where the origins came from and how to read them. So yeah, I would read another Rachel Held Evans book. And then I read, kind of over the course of many books here, I read Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. So this book, I listened to an audio. So I have to say that it is long. So I can't say that I was the most avid listener, but what I did hear definitely got the point across. America is incredibly racist and has been. I think that what really got me was how much propaganda there has been in America to keep like white Americans from like raising up Black Americans. Just like Planet of the Apes being kind of a way to see like white people as the savior and Black people as apes. And Tarzan was another one that was more about like the white savior among apes. And I feel like the more I learn about Black history, the more like shocking it is, really. And this felt very appropriate for Black History Month. It is a lot of history. There is a ton of information in here. It's definitely not like a hard read, but it is a lot of history. And I mean, it's hard in a different way. It's hard in that's a lot. So, yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I think just because it was so much information, but I don't know how to rate this. How do you rate like history like this? I do feel like I could read it again just to get more information. Like I think you could read it over and over and over again. The audiobook was good. We'll leave it at that. So totally switching gears. I think I just needed like a little palate cleanser after that. So I listened to another novella. So this is Maybe Not. So this goes between the Maybe Someday and Maybe Now. in this Colleen Hoover series. I liked Maybe Someday. Maybe Now was a little bit more like tropey predictable. So this is like a side couple in that series and kind of how they get together. So it's not like a spoiler that they get together because you know that from the series, but I don't know. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. So it was, you just kind of got their quick little love story. It was not long, like 2 hours maybe for an audiobook. So it was like super short. Some spicy scenes. Then I listened to Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. So this is where I was like traveling, right? So, or like getting ready to travel. So I was listening to books that I maybe wouldn't have because they were what was available. So Out of the Silent Planet is a science fiction series by C.S. Lewis. So I love Chronicles of Narnia, like so good. And my sister had read this series and said that I should read it. So Out of the Silent Planet, our main character is like kidnapped by scientists and brought to a planet that turns out to be Mars, where there is intelligent life. So he is like brought there to be sacrificed to them, but he escapes and he ends up like learning a lot about their culture and about like intelligent beings, and you just get a lot of perspective about how like as Americans we like consume and always want more, and these people are just not people, they're creatures are just kind of content to be part of the circle of life, and you just don't fight things and you're not like striving. It just seemed very peaceful, like a very peaceful planet to be part of. So I probably will listen to the other two and just kind of see where that goes. And I also feel like as C.S. Lewis, like you could probably read a whole lot more into it yet. So it's an interesting story. Then I read Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. This book, I gave it 3 stars. So the reason that I took multiple stars off, because it read really fast. And I did like the characters. It was like, it kept me guessing. It was not what I thought it was going to be. But in the end, I just, like, I don't want to give this away. I just don't think that I Love You can take sexual trauma away. I will leave it at that. I don't regret reading this, but I just think that was a weird magic wand to wave. Yeah. So there's that. And then I read the 4th in the I think they're in the Mount Olympus series of Katie Roberts. So I have not read Wicked Heart. I read them out of order. So Radiant Sin is the story of Apollo and Cassandra. So there is another, like a political story that's kind of happening underneath this story that I was interested in, that kept me reading. The love story itself, I was just not into. I felt like the spicy scenes were not spicy enough to get me past the fact that I didn't like the characters. And I feel like with like spicy books, really like any book really, like if I love the main character, like ride or die, I'll do whatever. But I cannot, these characters were boring. Like the one guy was just hot and that was his whole personality. And the girl was feisty, but in an annoying way. So not like a fun way, not sassy, just like I felt like they just repeatedly told you that she was feisty. She wasn't actually. I don't know. I gave that one 2 stars. So yeah, I guess it's just disappointing because I feel like the first one was Neon Gods was 5 stars. So good. Electric Idol was 4. I haven't read Wicked Beauty, but it's like, is that a 3? Is it, and then a 2? Like, are they going to get worse and worse? Because it's just really sad. Because I really liked the first one so much. I don't know. Months like this make me a little bit scared that like, do you ever worry that like you don't like books anymore because nothing, like you're just like hard to impress? But then I think about all the other books that I've read that are not that impressive that I just love so much. And I did have some 5 stars this month. I don't know. These are the things I worry about if I have multiple bad books in a row. So then I listened to I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. Ooh, gotta get the right there. I Must Betray You is I believe it's her newest one. It is set in, I don't even remember what year. 1980s? I think 1980s. Romania. So, communism, and they were all like betraying each other and reporting, and they didn't know much about the outside world, so they didn't know, like, which was all propaganda, right? To make them think that like America was bad and democracy was bad. So our main character is like caught up in all sorts of lies, doesn't know who to believe. And then it turns out that someone close to him is reporting on him, but he's also reporting on people. He has like American friends. So this book it read super easy. It wasn't super exciting, I guess. It wasn't. I was interested, but not like, oh, I need to finish. Like, I'm excited to listen to that. I went to Romania in 2007 for a mission trip, and they were still very, not a very joyful people, very closed off, very untrusting. So it is interesting to see, like, the historical trauma that has caused that. So, yeah, I certainly wouldn't say that I don't recommend that. I have really liked all of Ruta's books. And I've never read a book on Romania before, so that was great. So, yeah, so I would give it 4 stars. So I just like took a point off for like maybe depth. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be like, everyone go out and read this, but it was interesting. And if you like historical fiction, you might really like this. The last book that I read this month, and I read it just all day yesterday, is The Yellow Wife. So this, I think it's Sadika Johnson. I got this at Barnes & Noble. I think it was like a buy one, get one 50% off. And I don't know what made me pick it up. I normally would not pick this kind of book up. I don't really love historical fiction. This book was so good. Like 5 out of 5 stars. So our main character is the daughter of a plantation owner and his slave. And her mom was like the herbalist, healer on the plantation. So when something happens to them, she is sold off by the plantation owner's wife, who obviously feels very salty towards her. So she is sent off when she was born and raised. She played piano and she's educated and had always been promised that she would go to school. So she is sold off and bought by a jailer. And yeah, it's like she does what she has to survive. They have children. But all of the time, it's still very clear that she is his slave. She is not his wife. He does not treat her like a wife. And it's just horrible. She has just multiple bad decisions. She's never made to feel like she has a great life. And it's not predictable. So you're just always kind of wondering what the heck is going to happen. And yeah, it was very good. And it's a relatively short book. So well done, Sadika Johnson. This has so much content in it. It's so well written. I just loved it. All the characters were amazing. Yeah. Yellow Wife, 5 stars. So yeah, weird month. It's a weird month. So for March, March is Women's History Month, which I feel like I read almost all women authors anyway, which is probably a lie, but a lot of women authors. And so I was gonna just read books by women authors, but then I feel like with this like weird funk I've been in, I just need to read some like good books. I have a lot of TBR books that I need to read. So I went through and was like, okay, this is a book that I really want to read, and this is a book that maybe I don't want to read that. Like I do, but it's not, I don't want to like go pick it up. So I'm kind of doing a like, you have to finish this and then you can read this book that you really want to read. So I did that with I think 4 books. And then I have like some other bonus books to read. So yeah, March doesn't have a theme really. Books I want to read. And then April will probably also be books I want to read because that's my birthday month. So yeah. There was a lot of books in February that I would have loved to read. Lots of romance books, but I feel like a lot of people want to read romance in February. And a lot of the books that I am really excited to read are like brand new, or they're like kind of lesser known, so they're not available at the library. So it's hard because you have to like prepare so much to read the things you want in certain months. But then if you like put them on hold and then they're available too early, oof, the library conundrum. Anyway, I will see you next month for March's reading wrap up.